Canada's last intact ice shelf broke off. It took our research station with it.
Here's a summary of the article.
In August, Adrian White, an ice analyst at the Canadian Ice Service who monitors the Canadian Arctic for changes in sea ice, was reviewing satellite imagery when she spotted something remarkable. The enormous Milne Ice Shelf, which was the last intact ice shelf in Canada and which White had studied closely before as a PhD student, was dissolving. Copeland, I got a text from Adrian, I remember it clearly, and it just said, the Milne Ice Shelf is gone. I saw it and thought, crap, is that real? We'd both spent a lot of time working and living on the ice shelf, flying around it, studying it, so I texted her back and she described the process and the timing. Derek Muller, all of the other ice shelves had broken up in past years, so it wasn't a question of if for this particular ice shelf. Copeland, for ice shelves, we can lose them very quickly. When they break up, that piece of the ice shelf is gone, it floats away. To form an ice shelf, it takes hundreds to thousands of years, because you need a gradual buildup of snow and ice. You used to have old sea ice attached to the coast and ice shelves filling fjords and bays.
This post received a score of 18,000, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Here is the thing about melting ice that most people don't realize. It takes the same amount of energy to turn ice at 0 C 32 F to water at 0 C 32 F as it does to heat water at 0 C 32 F to 76 C 169 F. To make matters worse, ice reflects almost all energy from the sun while water retains that energy. Equals more energy retained means hotter water equals more ice melting. What has happened in the Arctic is we now have a man-made positive feedback loop that we can't stop. It's very hard to overemphasize the global environmental disaster that is unfolding by Arctic ice melting.
But hey, the Gulf Stream disappearing might mean that some ice will form over Europe.
That's true, but it would only seasonal and dramatically less than what is lost in the Arctic. But it also means 50-plus sea summers and the destruction of almost all of farmlands, extreme shortages of fresh water in the summer, and annual California-sized uncontrollable wildfires until all of Europe's forests are turned into grasslands or deserts.
When the Gulf Stream comes to a halt, Europe will stop being fed its warm weather, temperate climate from the tropics. Europe will be first to experience the cold snap after the processes that circulate warm air and water break down. But yes, until then, approximately 50 years, we will continue to warm rapidly and melt the ice, pouring it into the oceans and halting our climate-making machines.
What's scary is something similar like this happened before. Climate change in Europe and the subsequent migration of people, collectively called sea people, are one of the most plausible theory for the late Bronze Age collapse. Podcast source.
Thanks for the podcast source. Diving in.
If countries actually took climate seriously, we could get so much more done. At this point, it's too little too late, but we still have to do what we can to minimize the disaster that's looming over us.
If the companies that own the politicians of the countries that had the power to do something about it cared, we could have done much more. But alas, they wanted to squeeze every dollar they could out of the planet.
It's our fault for letting our politicians become this. Let's be real. Collectively, we as a people must unite and fix the world. No 13LSE to blame but ourselves.
You can't fix that which you not only don't understand, but are actively being kept from understanding. Blame is useless unless it is being used to make things better. We need to think about power, and blame needs to be focused on those with power. There are not a lot of people in the world who have real decision-making power on climate change, and right now, what needs to happen is they need to be removed if they refuse to deal with it, or be pressured into dealing with it somehow.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.